So now what we need is a way of seeing where we are in the playback graphically so that we can follow along. Now we have to do this with another object. We're going to take a look down here, pull this down a little bit and get some room. This last outlet of Groove is a loop sync output. It's a signal. So I'm going to use a number tilde to see what it does. And let's select all. So you can see it cycling from 0 to 1. It doesn't get exactly to 0 or exactly to 1 because we're processing time and buffers of samples, but it's giving you an approximation. That's what it does. Now we can use that information to drive a slider. We can use the slider as an overlay on the waveform. So let's just first start by putting in a slider. And we need a little bit of manipulation. So we can't come straight out of the signal. Number value as a signal, we can get a double signal value, double float. The thing we need to do is we need what's called a snapshot object. Snapshot will take a picture of an audio signal at regular intervals of time, let's say 10 milliseconds. And that can create a number. So let's put a floating point number here just to see what's going on. And go back to playing. And you see 10 milliseconds is enough to kind of get it to work through, as you see it. So let's do a little work on our fader slider. Unlock and open up its inspector. And we can first make it have a floating point output and make its range be to 1. Now, if you change the range before you change the floating point output, your minimum range will be 2. So just do it in that order. Float, range of 1. And now we can take the output of snapshot and drive the slider. So you can see it progress through. Now there's obviously some changes. It should be horizontal first. Just going to follow along. And there's some other approaches. I'm going to leave this one down here, and I'm going to use a send and receive to put a couple of faders up here. First, let's do, I didn't mean to do option while it was locked. Unlock it. We can make 2 copies. In fact, I'll just make 1 copy and get it set up the way I want it and copy it. So I am going to send what I call pointer location. And that's going to update, but I want to do a few more changes to this. I want to change the knob shape to an indicator. And just to let you see what that means, instead of having the highlighted part, it just shows me what the indicator is only, not the where I am. So then I'm going to do a couple more things. Going to make the background color non-opaque. I am going to not worry about the element color, but the on color. Let's make it brighter. It needs to show up whether it's a gray background or the selected yellow. So I'm going to go with something like bright blue. And I'm also going to go to the thickness and make it more like something like 50. Maybe even less. Let's make it like 40. And now if I resize it, I need to have it be just a little bit hanging off of it, because the fader has to fit in at the very beginning, or the indicator knob. Then I can pull it back this way, go just a little beyond, because it's the same thing, a little bit beyond there. Now I'm just going to make it short. And you can see it's kind of hard with the snap-on to get it in a place that you want. You can put the patching rectangle, and I can adjust these numbers, 465, 495, maybe 492. And it moves over a little bit. And I can do the same with the 465. I need it to move over a bit. 463. So it hangs out a little bit. Now I'm only making it have a small vertical space because I still want to be able to select. And if I put this entirely over the waveform, I can't select anything graphically. So it's going to run at the bottom, just like this. And instead of having this long patch cord, there's going to be a receive object, pointer location, and it's going to go into its input. And I know it's the slider input. And let's hide that patch cord. And now, as I play through, you can see the fader going along. If I do something shorter, so like the guitar. It's a little behind. So I can play around with the placement. Still a little bit off. It's a little slow. And that could just be the visual updating, and I'm going to live with that for now. And I'm going to double what I have. Actually, I just need to double the slider. So an option drag, and bring it straight down, and hook it up. Hide unlock. And I didn't get it into the right thing. That's the waveform. I want it in the slider. There we go. So that's working. But what I'm going to show you now is that it's only working up to a point. If I select black patch, it's kind of moving through, but it's moving beyond, if you can see it. And maybe I need to do a couple things. Go back to 1. And what you can see is that sync is still going from 0 to 1, even though I've only selected a portion. So stop. So what's happening is that this output always goes from 0 to 1, no matter what is playing, what part of the file is playing. So it doesn't give you phase in the file, it gives you phase relative to whatever your selection is. So that's not quite what we want if we want to play back a section. I'm going to do one thing before I stop here, because this blue doesn't really show up against the gray background. So I'm going to go with maybe a brighter color and go for this blue, and do the same with this other slider. Set a standard, go to brighter colors, take that blue, and now at least you can see it in here. And I'm going to stop here and I'm going to show you what we have to do to know the size of the loop relative to the hole, scaling the loop length, and offsetting it based on the beginning selection. So that's next.